In studio with us today for our Friday with the Fuzz is Commander Ana Lalley.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And filling in for Chief Sabota this week, and also I think next week we'll have
Deputy Chief Wolf.
Deputy Chief Wolf.
Yes.
Yep. Great. We had a couple things I wanted really just to kind of touch on because I don't know how much has changed in that. But we only have like 11 minutes, but maybe we'll talk about some undercover work.
Okay.
First of all, we'll start out with last Friday after the show, about 8:52 p.m. There was a man in the 800 block of Preston Avenue. Vehicle pulled up, argument happened, and then gunshots fired, and the man was hit in the thigh. Not life-threatening injuries from all reports. Can you kind of tell us what happened in this case, and if you're working lead still, if you've made an arrest?
Yeah, our gang crimes unit is currently investigating the incident, and just like you said, later on in the evening, just a group of subjects, drove by another group of subjects, and someone shot from the vehicle. So some words were exchanged, and that's pretty much all that we have at this point. And so it's currently an ongoing investigation that our gang crimes unit is conducting.
So gang crimes, would it necessarily mean that that's because doesn't that in the drug unit work pretty closely together?
Yeah, the way that we kind of assign cases based on preliminary information, we'll usually determine which group is going to take it. Is it going to be gang crimes? Is it our drug unit? Or is it our major investigations division? And throughout the course of the investigation, if something should change, they'll work with each other and kind of use their resources depending on the type of crime. So all initial reports are leading to gang crimes, and so they're the ones who will investigate at this point.
Gotcha. There was also Sunday morning, or late Saturday night, however you want to look at it.
Early Sunday morning.
If I haven't gone to sleep yet, it's still that
right,
day.
Exactly.
Yeah, so,
depends what you're doing.
This was Sunday morning at 1:38 in the morning. Another incident of a shooting, this one in the 900 block of Villa Street, and grazed in the chest was by the bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky, first of all.
Yes.
I mean, the chest is pretty much a kill shot, I would think. You talked about this case at all. Is this another one that kind of falls in that same category?
Yeah, same thing. Just
yeah.
Our gang crimes unit is investigating. The person just had some words exchanged with another group that were in the vehicle, and someone from the vehicle shot towards the victim and did graze him, luckily. And he then called the police, and we responded out there. And so again, all initial reports indicate that gang crimes, so our gang crimes unit will investigate. With
gang crimes, do they generally call the police? Even when there's a shoot, do they still call?
Sometimes, yeah. We've had.
Or do you get most of that from they've gone to the hospital because they've got a gunshot wound and
sometimes
they have to report,
yes.
Right?
It's a combination. We've had citizens who call because they see the incident or hear the incident. Yeah. We've had cases where the actual victim will call. We've had cases where they do just show up at the hospital, and that's how we're notified. So it kind of depends on the circumstances, what were they doing during the incident, how much do they really want to give police. Gang crimes are historically extremely hard to investigate because you are dealing with people
wants to talk, right?
who, I mean, some will cooperate, but our gang crimes unit it does an extraordinary job interviewing, building a rapport with gang members prior to an incident happening, so if something does happen, they can reach out. And those cases are a lot harder to investigate than something that our major investigations division would commonly investigate, where victims are more apt to give you information and cooperate, and they're always around. So it can be difficult. They can be difficult cases.
Gang Crimes Unit 847-289-2507 is
yes.
that the number? And then also, if you want to call the anonymous tip line, if you know anything, 847-695-4195. If you are a technology guru and you want to text,
yes.
847-411. Being sure to put Elgin PD at the beginning so they know how to route that, because that goes through like a central server.
Mm-hmm.
And if it has Elgin PD and then followed by the tip or message information, that will get to you that way. And of course, they can also go to the cityofelgin.org
yes.
and fill out a form there as well. And
yes.
I believe that one's also anonymous.
That's
if they
anonymous
want.
as well, if they want. And we take information in any way we can get it. Anonymous, you want to come forward, we're more than happy to have the information.
Direct message you on Facebook or
you
Twitter.
You can do that as well. Direct message Christy. Yes. She's up all hours of the night. She'll answer.
Pretty much. That's what I hear.
Yes.
There was a crash Tuesday morning at the intersection just as I was leaving here as well. A little bit after, I think I saw some emergency personnel from this area heading out to it. It was at 8:06 in the morning, a crash at the intersection of Summit and Spring Streets. Evidently a man missed a stop sign, went through, and then was struck by a driver heading southbound on Spring. Any more to this? Just not paying attention.
You know, this is...
Because the gentleman passed away, unfortunately,
exactly.
66. I mean,
Yes.
he had a house, right, after the...
Yes, upon the initial, the strike of the impact pushed him into a house. So, yeah, it's just, you know, a preliminary investigation just revealed that, you know, he failed to yield at the stop sign, and you know, it's an unfortunate event, and, you know, we always let, you know, accidents happen. This was, again, you know, just something that was extremely unfortunate.
Nobody in the house was injured?
No, there was no one in the house was injured, and I believe it was a little bit after the fact that people came out of the house. And the way that the car struck the house, it was actually almost like a porch area.
Okay. Wanted to talk about the Super Bowl weekend going on this week, but
yes.
we've only got 5 minutes.
I know.
I really want to talk about...
Doesn't the chief go for like 10 minutes?
Sometimes.
Doesn't he keep going?
Yeah, sometimes I bring him
okay, well, I won't do that. 5 minutes. Let's go.
We... Chief Swoboda had kind of told us a little bit of your background.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about all the positions, but the
yeah.
one interested me the most, and I kind of shared with you off air why it interested me so
yeah.
much, was your work in Undercover.
Yes.
And you said you spent like 6 years.
Yes.
I spent 6 weeks doing undercover work. When I first got out of college,
yeah.
I went to work for a private organization. I was a law enforcement major, and went to a private organization that supplied basically like undercover plants within like major corporations. So, say for example, Motorola, I'll just use it as an example, felt they had a problem in their distribution center with drugs being dealt in there. I would go to work inside as a Motorola employee and basically just gather information, write reports, and then my people would share that with different police organizations. If I made a drug buy, I would have to go get tested, and they did DNA testing of your hair to make sure that you weren't using as well. You had to write up reports, you had to turn that over to police in the chain of custody. I actually made a buy of cocaine and behind a bar in Ohio. I was scared to death. It was not long after, it was almost to the end, I was almost going to get it placed. It was right at the end of my training of 6 weeks, and 2 days later I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. There's no way. I had just gotten married. There's no way. I wanted to start a family. I didn't want to die. How did you do it for 6 years?
You're not going to die. You'll be fine. Well, I could tell you that, you know, my background, I was a midnight shift officer, and then I went to the drug unit for 6 years and as a detective. And, you know, I remember many things about my career, but I remember my first drug buy in the drug unit, and it was literally day one. And so I was very fortunate to be trained by one of our drug officers.
Did they give you the gold sticker for a superstar?
No, it's not like that at all. No. Not until you actually, you know, show that it's not like a fluke. That was just a one-time thing that you actually can do it. But I was trained by one of the best undercover officers, not just from Elgin, but in this whole county and probably the whole state. And he's currently assigned to a task force, a DEA task force. And so at the time, he was in the Elgin drug unit. And so it was day one, and we had a complaint of a kid selling marijuana around Larkin High School, around the area. And it was just you know, we would get numerous complaints from citizens, from informants, and so this is where we would just decide, let's just go see if we can go out there and buy something. And, you know, we kind of knew the general area, the general time, and he said, all right, get in the car and go. And I was like, all right.
Okay.
And so I went in the car, and sure enough, I saw the person, and, you know, undercover work is not really about what you look like, it's what you say.
It's your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was able to purchase cannabis, and the whole time I was thinking, well, two things. One, I was very happy that I bought it, because I was like, oh my God, if I don't buy it, like, this is going to be really bad. I have to go back and listen to people say, you can't buy drugs. So I was, and it was a lot of fun. And so from that point on, you know, anyone that does undercover work, you know, if they say, oh, I was never scared, they've either never done undercover work or they're just lying, because every single time that I made a buy, I wasn't scared or frightened, like shaking or anything like that. But I always had in the back of my mind, yes, you know, what is my plan? What's going to happen? What am I going to do? And so, you know, we worked with Aurora, Batavia, Chicago, DEA, FBI. we went all over doing undercover buys, even in Elgin. I mean, and it was, you know, the officers that do undercover work, you know, you learn a lot of investigative type information, but you also have to be very quick-witted and think quick on your feet. And so, you know, I obviously, coming from the drug unit, know what, you know, the drug unit detectives that are currently in there go through, and, you know, they do an awesome job, and they're some of the best officers in the police department. And it is hard work. I mean, it's, you know, one of those things where, you know, for me it was a little bit easier because my husband worked at the police department. So when I would have to go do, you know, we were doing operations that would maybe be until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He understood it. You know, I don't have children. That makes it a lot easier. So I really do give credit. You know, the guy that kind of trained me, who was the undercover I talked to you about, you know, he had at the time 3 children. He was married, working long hours, and I always respected the fact that, you know, he was able to balance his family with his job. Yeah. And he was unbelievable in, like, just his training, the way he would teach you how to do certain, you know, how to talk to people, how do you get yourself out of situations.
It was learning, for me, it was in a very short period of time, but and maybe you can talk to us, learning all the vernacular, learning all the terminology, you know, the kind of the street talk, and so that you didn't talk like you were an undercover.
Yes, you're not going to go up to someone and say, "Can I have
Hello,
1 gram?
I would like 8 ounces
of cocaine, please." Yes, they're going to say, "No."
Give me methamphetamine.
Right, please. Yes. No, and the thing is, like, some terms will always remain the same for marijuana, for cocaine, for heroin, but it really is a fluid type of
the weights and
business.
measures was tough
the weights,
too.
The measurements, the cost. So that's why I would always say it's not about
They'll
what
test
you
you
know.
on that too, with the pricing,
Absolutely.
especially, and everything. Yep. They'll hand you something, and if you don't know that it's not the right size.
Exactly, and that's part of it. And, you know, you're asked, I mean, you know, are you an undercover officer? Are you an undercover officer? And I was asked.
It's absolutely not true that if you say no, that it's inadmissible.
We are able to, use
no.
deceptive practices to say at that time, yes, I'm not going to say, yes, I am an undercover officer.
Darn it, you caught me.
Yes. So, yeah, it was a great time in my career. I learned a lot of, you know, how to communicate, how to talk. I mean, we actually would deal with citizens too. You know, so it's a little different way. You know, they would call, make a complaint, and then you would tell them, okay, well, we're looking into it. Well, sometimes drug cases take months to come to a resolution, and so every time that you're telling them we're looking into it, I had one lady who would call me.
What are you guys doing? What are you
constantly?
What's
I mean, it was like clockwork. I would come in at 3 o'clock, and the phone would be ringing. I'm like, oh God, it's her again. And then finally, I was able to tell her, we've just done a search warrant. We've arrested people. Thank you for the information. You know, it does take a little bit of time. So yeah, it was a great, great time in my career. And like I said, I really support the drug officers, the gang officers, because it is among all our officers, but I understand that work a lot more, and it is sometimes very difficult.
Talking with Commander Ana Lalley from the Elgin Police Department. Man, there's so many questions I want to ask you about.
I'll come back, right?
Yeah, you can come back.
Can I just say a couple of things too real quick? Our Citizen Police Academy is opening up, our Senior Citizens Police Academy, our Spanish Citizen Police Academy. We have a security through surveillance class also coming up, and I think CERT starts next week. And then also, just say quick hello to the Black Hawk neighborhood group. I was out at their meeting this week too as well, so I want to say hello.
Super Bowl weekend. We know that that's a heavy.
I guess there's this thing called the Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't watch sports.
I think that term is trademarked. It's the big game this Sunday.
Big game. Okay, sorry.
So, no, I don't mind either. But you guys, the police department, you'll be out in force, right?
Yes.
Also doing seatbelt inspections, some traffic.
Extra traffic enforcement, just for, you know, DUIs, seatbelts. You know, just make sure that you're careful. You know, if you do and plan on drinking, call a cab, call a friend, give your keys to someone. You know, we want everyone to have a safe and enjoyable Super Bowl weekend holiday.
You put out a great press release. Some things in there that Lieutenant Jeff Adam had put out was letting friends drive drunk. Or let's see, a couple simple steps to avoid a tragic crash would be calling a taxi, using mass transit, as you should call a sober neighbor or a friend or family member. Report drunk drivers to law enforcement. Spend the night where the activity is being held and sleep it off, and always buckle up because that's your best defense against a drunk driver.
Yep.
You never know where they're coming from.
Exactly.
So.
And have a safe holiday weekend.
It is a holiday weekend.
It is.
Isn't
It's
it?
a holiday for a Sunday. Yeah, I think it's like
I think it's a long
holiday.
weekend. I take Monday off too.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Thanks. I'll let the chief know. You said you gave me the day off.
Let him know. All right. Thank you very much, Anna. You have a great weekend. Safe one.
Thank you for having me.
You're listening to AM 1410 WRMN.
In Elgin.